about France as I do.
Okay. Happy,
Particle physics.
what day is it? Wednesday? Thursday. Yes, Thursday. We're in Tampa, driving to Brooksville. We just went past Idlewild Church, and it brought up a conversation. So Idlewild in North Tampa is this monstrous church. It's just monstrously big. It's not a church, it's a campus. It's a university. It's something. They've got football fields. They could have a whole tournament. You know what I mean? It's one thing to have a field, but you could have an ultimate tournament there. There's so much open space that with lined fields and goalposts and money, tennis courts, like every sport, like they've got
Or tents.
like just loads of money. I mean, they have on-campus housing, like there's apartments or dorms basically for the students. So I guess it's a seminary school also.
Have you been there?
I've just driven through the campus and it's just expansive.
It's a school, dude.
Yeah, and I'm just coming to learn about all the different kind of schools that they have for kids. Like, so you can start your child really young with daycare, which kind of moves into, but it's all church based. And it's just like a new world, because I didn't know much about it because I was never planning on having kids until maybe the last 6-7 years. So we went by Idlewild, and Paul has gone there to actually see a Christmas show, and the Christmas show was like a Hollywood production kind of thing.
It was like a Broadway production. I wouldn't call it Hollywood.
Okay, my bad. Yeah, right. Yeah, live. It's a live theater
show, dancing, singing, or were they singing?
Like the nice lights and special effects kind of stuff.
Yeah, like choreography, and I think there was some acting involved. Some people were acting, but I think there was mostly singing.
Oh, okay.
Mostly singing, some dancing, but theatrical. Like, I can't remember what it was set to. I think it was set. Yeah, it was.
So your babysitter was in the show.
She was in the show. She was she was in one little part at the very beginning of it.
She's like an extra.
Like these go-go girls dancing, but they were. They were like World War I or World War II.
Right, and you're saying that it wasn't even a Christmas story. They weren't specifically recounting any historical events in the Bible.
No, yeah, it wasn't like the play of Jesus' birth kind of thing, and like somebody was Joseph kind of stuff.
And it was at Christmas though, right?
It was at Christmas time, yes. Yeah. It was a Christmas show. Pageant. Christmas concert. Show. I don't know. Yeah, show.
And we were talking about, like, when you walked in, there's like a big grand staircase.
Yeah,
that goes to nothing. It's just like all these adornments.
Well, they go upstairs to the other half of the auditorium. Because it's so large
and grand. The grand facade.
Grand. And it had 2 saltwater fish tanks.
Whoa.
Yeah, man.
Which are like mesmerizing. Have you guys ever looked at?
Oh yeah, you could stand there forever and watch those fish.
That's always like examples, like where people. I'm a Kingdom Now guy, so I believe the kingdom of heaven on earth is now. Like, as soon as enough of us co-create it, and basically just get out of the way because Yah has already created it. And there's instances where you find that in life, and I find that when you look into saltwater fish tanks, you're just like, this is this whole alien world that is magnificently beautiful and interesting, and you could just stare at it for hours.
Yeah.
You often, when in Florida, when you go to a lot of the restaurants by the beach, they'll have these saltwater fish tanks, and they're like wealthy people have them.
I haven't seen too many people's homes, but
when I built pool tables, you'd go into wealthy people's houses or saunas, and you'd see these. They're just mesmerizing, and you can't look away. Like, you can't just walk by it without taking a look. And it's when you have kids, it's one of the most fun things to do is to take your kids and just look at, because you can see really well. Unlike when you go to like the aquarium, it's kind of thicker glass or whatever, which is amazing too. Like, have you been to the
the
Florida Aquarium?
Yeah, that place is pretty cool.
So to me,
It's great for little kids. Great for little kids.
It's evidence to me when you see like just like a children's laughter. That's a sign from God. Like,
Now they have a splash pad in the back.
yeah, and when you go to the splash cats, like you take your kid, and they're just so giggly, happy, jumpy. Like, it's just this magical place for kids. That was one of my fondest memories from that toddler age. In fact, might be my only fond memory of that time.
Wow, I still remember.
Where everybody went to the bungalow, and it was like this very festive and fun place to go. And so basically what Babylon is doing with these type of church events is creating an emotional, this is my fun place. This is my fun friends at a place like Idlewild, because it's
That was also the place. Was it the same show? Yeah, because we've only been there the one time. So I went there we had Ben with us, my first son, who was 2, maybe?
Yep.
Maybe 2? Yeah, 2. He was 2. So when it got serious, and the pastor was actually, like, there was no music, it was dead quiet, the only one talking was the pastor, because he was giving his sermon, Ben started laughing uncontrollably. So, and like I couldn't stop him. I wasn't inducing. At first, I was laughing with him because I thought we were laughing at, because we were sitting right near the band, and I think I like pointed out something about one of the guys
out of the mouth of babes,
or like I was like, oh. And then Ben laughed at that something. He laughed at something, and then I laughed with him. But
were you stoned?
No, I was not stoned.
Oh.
I had not been smoking at this time. I was 100% sober.
It makes church so much better. Have you gone?
Yeah.
Have you ever gone stoned to church?
No.
Oh, it's so way better.
Yeah.
In the same way you talked to your neighbor, right, the other day, it makes the church folk, like, you just figure out something, you know what I mean? It just kind of,
right.
The conversation just goes.
Right, you just kind of find yourself into a conversation, and you're able to stay into it without, like...
You're in the moment. Maybe that's what speaking in tongues is.
Being in the moment.
Well, where you're able to go up to strangers and find commonality with any one of them, regardless of what they are. Because I can talk to anybody.
That's true. Yeah. Sure.
I can talk to anybody about the whole slave system.
Yeah, but that's different than just being able to talk to them.
Well, it always ends up there.
That's what happens. Is people always they always have their. Everyone has their like little pocket of something that they want to talk. Like for my dad, it's always his army stuff.
Yeah,
it's always his time when he spent in the service.
So he's recollecting his own hero's journey. That's basically what that is. It's like a rite of passage.
It's pride. It's pride.
Yes.
It's
idolatry.
It's you're so ready to you feel like you should just dote it on everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to do that with Marine Corps stuff.
All your conversations, like you're not and I found this about when I was doing the sales of the security systems, because I thought like, oh, okay, I'll learn the scripts, but then I'll still be able to kind of talk to these people. But then as the more of the meetings and the more going through the scripts and memorizing what I was supposed to say, like, and the things that they kept telling us is that we had to stick to the script, which means which means sticking to the script was just basically any time you kind of veer off the conversation, go right back to the script.
Yeah.
So you're not there to actually have a conversation with somebody. You're there to
sell.
Well, to sell, yeah.
Close.
You're trying to close
ABC.
that deal. 100%.
ABC. Always be closing.
with absolutely zero regard for the actual person that you're trying to sell to.
Yeah.
You have zero regard, and that's what
That's how I am generally with pool building, with pool customers.
Yes. Yes. I noticed that a lot. It's funny.
I am like, it's honestly a bad habit, but when I'm the pool's miserable, so I just, rather than saying anything, I just try to shut up.
Right. Yeah, or just use as few words as possible.
Yeah, I literally, there's some times where I have some customers I never talk to at all. Like, it's just texting.
Oh, wow.
And a monetary exchange, and I explain how to use the filter.
Right.
And it's robotic, exactly. and that's the very thing that idolatry does, is it turns us into these, because we have our identity built upon a grand facade. And my grand facade at various times was being a frat boy in a fraternity. So it's sports, girls, beer, recycle, fights, sports, girls, beer. Like, you know what I mean? That was conquest. It's all like this conquest. Because sports is domination. Like, we won the sports trophy every year for 20 some years because we dominate in sports, and we did. And so,
yes.
So that was a reflection. So basically what Babylon does is it keeps setting up these rites of passage, which become our when we look back, those are our festive memories. What like these achievements or these fun times.
The rewards.
But they're all based on lies. They were all based upon a God that's depending upon us. Like, I really think of like what an idol is. Meaning the power of that idol is nothing without the faith and belief and the labor of the humans that have been deceived to believe in it. Like the U.S. Constitution, for instance. It's physically, like if you described it to a Martian or something, like somebody from a first tribesman, an American Indian. Look, we've got this imagine the white guys trying to sell the Constitution to the American Indians. You know what I mean? We're like, the Indians, the Indians are like, we've got it pretty good. Like, we don't have any jobs. You guys have jobs, and all of you are working for money, and we're not. Like, we just hang out with our kids and hunt and fish and like pick.
The word work is not even in our vocabulary.
Right.
You've just given us a new word.
You work for money? Like,
what is that?
What's money and what's work? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, you do things for these little... I have some shells. You want some of those?
Right. I have this beaver pelt. Like, it's warm. It's pretty cool.
Keeps me warm.
Just, you're an Indian. Like, I always think of that in the movie Avatar. There's a really important scene where the Marine busts him, like the Marine Colonel, who's a zombie. Right? He's a spiritual zombie. Just give me the money, I'll kill whatever you want.
He doesn't care.
Right. And that's what that mindset is because of the grand facade that we believe in all of these idols. And the hero's journey, or I think the Christian walk, is that we have to quit all of those teams and divorce all of that earthly authority so that you no longer have your identity all wrapped up in the army or the Marine Corps or Sigma Phi Epsilon or what was I, like my different role? I was a lifeguard before that in high school and a painter, like whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? All of those.
So no jobs. Everybody quit your job right now.
Well, yeah, that's part of it. Because to be in the garden...
The job is done.
If you think of...
Stop your car, start walking.
Yeah.
Immediately.
There's definitely got to be a
The day is today.
That's Exodus. Exodus, that's the story, right?
And that day started today.
Today's the day.
Today's the day.
Hey, so we're not going to do this pool thing?
No, dude. We're walking. We're going to go...
You don't...
East towards the sun.
And that is exactly what it says in the New Testament, though, when Jesus sent out the commission.
North.
Right? The true commission is to go out in pairs, proclaiming the gospel.
Only as a disciple, though. We're not disciples in any way.
Oh, I'm trying. I am definitely trying. So anyway, you say like you just get you're not supposed to take anything with you. Is my point.
Right. Except a staff.
You don't.
You get a staff.
Staff is in there.
Yeah.
What was
Staff.
it?
It's basically your staff,
your immediate belongings,
the clothes you have, and sandals. It specifically says sandals, your regular clothes, a staff, and you can't take 2 coats.
Yeah, you got to sell one and buy a sword.
No, you don't buy a sword. You don't sell anything.
Do I stop? Is this too early? It's the red light, right?
You're fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man,
You're on the other end of the bus, so you're good.
All right. I forget the rules on that.
Yeah, no, it's always...
Because yellow means stop. That was...
Well, they stick out there. When they stick out the signs, that's when you're absolutely like, oh shit.
And they come down now. Like we're talking about bus, all of the signage that is on buses now. And because it's kids, you're like, oh, be extra safe. And it has all these gizmos, and I forget the rules. So,
right, it's not about saving the kids; it's about making sure you follow the rules.
Yeah. So you think of it think of a grand facade
from the actual kids.
Babylon has this grand facade over that they are trying to protect children, and they do it with the yellow bus, and it's highly visible, and we have all these laws and all of this stuff, but ultimately all of that stuff is based upon a false authority. So it's a grand facade that doesn't actually protect the children in the same way that following Yah's laws would. Because ultimately, this very same system enslaves these children in perpetual debt, for instance, which is absolutely positively unpayable. So therefore, it requires a perpetual, ongoing, intergenerational commitment that all of these children are enslaved in non-stop debt, so they work from cradle to grave in some countries, virtually. But as soon as some kids in some nations, and by the way, even if you don't have that, the fathers like Paul and myself, we are compelled through this system of usury and usurpation and idolatry, we are compelled to chase down this idol called the Federal Reserve Note so that we can support our families here in this Egyptian captivity of debt slavery, bond servitude. So when you understand that this was a commandment by Yah that we would be sold back into Egyptian captivity, which is Deuteronomy 28:68, and it says, I will send you, Israel, if this is part of the curses, I will sell you back into bond slavery, Israel, if you go whoring, and we are whoring. And
it's a pretty negative outlook, man.
Well,
it's just to be more positive.
It's the curse,
Everything is awesome. Everything is awesome.
Hakuna Matata.
Exactly.
It's my worry-free philosophy. So like Lion King, we're now called...
That's what Jesus said, is to look to the ravens and the lilies. Look to the ravens and the lilies. They don't worry. They don't do...
They're not sweating money.
They're not doing anything. They're just kind of being who they are.
Yeah, they're not sweating money. They're not in fear of bankruptcy or lack of money or inability to pay the IRS. Because what we fear, we obey. And what we obey becomes our de facto God, right? So think of the way I've made memes where I show a Federal Reserve note being held up, and it says, this piece of paper has complete control over your life. You sacrifice for it. Your people kill and die for it. They get divorced over it. They choose who they're going to marry. Men who choose to not serve the money thing go homeless, and it makes them virtually unmarriable. They can't get married because the women and the men have all been brainwashed into this system of monetary classism and that sort of thing.
Okay, so slight change here. So here's Mark chapter 6, verse 7. And he called unto him the 12, and began to send them forth by 2 and 2, and gave them power over unclean spirits.
Yes.
This is Jesus after... No, Jesus is still alive at this point. Okay. And commanded them that they should take nothing for their journey, save a staff only, no scrip, no bread, no money in their purse. The word "there" is italicized. Their purse.
All 12.
But be shod with sandals, and not put on 2 coats. And then Jesus lays a smackdown on red letters, saying, "Verily I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable for Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city that doesn't take them in."
Woo. Yeah,
So-
that's Jesus. Like, everybody goes say Jesus is like a softie, and like the second go is gonna be, because the message has,
Yeah, he lays a smackdown right there.
yeah, he's saying Sodom and Gomorrah is raining sulfur fire. Sulfur rain,
Which is nothing compared to what is going to happen to you.
sulfur rain. We got to
That's a Prince song. isn't
Yeah,
it?
exactly. Sulfur rain, sulfur. How does he like kind of yell in the middle of that? I only wanted to love you. You're my girl. You know what I mean? He's like,
That almost sounds exactly like him.
yeah.
He does sing that.
Yeah. So it's sulfur rain, sulfur
I don't
rain.
remember that song too well.
Repent, Israel. It's all about. This is the deal. This is a God. This is the King of the heaven and earth. Trying his bride is finally repenting, and choosing to entirely divorce Pharaoh. Right. So there's nothing that can hold that future back. Yah is going to remarry his people. Period. That is going to happen. If you're a believer, you believe that. Right? So when that happens...
You're actually supposed to believe that it already did happen with Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it happened in the Old Testament, and there was a divorce. And I think that's what happened at Pentecost. Pentecost is about an anniversary. It's a marriage. It's just that you're having an anniversary coming up, right?
Yeah. Actually, it was yesterday. The actual
9
day
years?
was
9
yesterday.
years.
9 years.
9 years. Good job.
My
Good
ninth
job.
year.
Good job.
Yeah.
And I'll have you, Paul is public enemy number 1 with regard to Babylon, because a lot of the manipulations that Babylon does, I'm saying white, middle-aged males, or fathers, male father, because they promote divorce, they promote easy divorce, like it's part of their TV shows are all broken families and all that kind of thing. So they've normalized a lot of aberrant.
I stopped watching TV, so I don't know what they're.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So we're talking about the grand facade, and the grand facade of Idlewild is basically, it doesn't talk. If you go to these kind of churches, they don't ever talk biblical economics. They don't talk about the rat race. They don't talk about cannabis of Exodus.
They don't talk about the rapture. Well, because they're not the hell and brimstone preachers that they used to be, where they just preach that you're damned and you're going to hell if you don't stop what you're doing. You know, those guys.
Yeah, that kind of stuff doesn't. That is in there, because we're just talking. It's in the Bible. Jesus was just talking about the sulfur rain, so it is New Testament. It's prophecy, because Yah is saying it's going to happen through His Son.
Isn't he already saying that it did happen? Is it in past tense? This is paradise, isn't it?
It's both.
We're in the paradise now.
I agree. It's just, we are going to Brooksville today, and we should be taking our kids with us. Do you know what I mean? There should be 4 boys in the car, and we're going fishing. We're going to catch our first fish today. Right?
They can help us build the pool or do the stuff with the pool.
I agree, but you know what I'm talking about. It's like, if what we perpetuate, we are teaching them by example.
If you want to take your kid with you, take your kid with you.
That'll happen.
It's like, this job definitely allows it for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, Yeah, they're a distraction, and they might die because of the heat. But hey,
They won't die from heat.
there's no law that says you can't take them with you.
Child labor laws. I think that's only if they're hired.
That's
if it's
only
your
if
own,
you. Yeah, if it's your own kid, I don't think that applies. That's if you just like pick this kid up off the street kind of thing.
Yeah. So I don't know all the rules on that, but so anyway, that's all Babylon. What the men do every day, what the fathers do every day, regardless of what they say, the things that the fathers do every day will become a lot of a substantial influence to whatever the children do. You know, like, because if he exercises a lot, the kids will likely exercise, right? Because you'll take
if you
them.
push him. Yeah, if you push him to do it.
Yeah, like we
might.
played football, so we ran around and played football. A lot of dads don't do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
So what we do, like, and if we're excited by it, our kids are always trying to, like this, like Ben and Sean, they try to do things that they know that you like. Like it's a game that you played. It's a game that you played one time before and you both had fun, so they'll try to start it up again.
Oh yeah, they do that.
Creatures of habit. It's a habit.
Yeah,
they're just
they
habits.
had a great time and they want to do it again and have fun again.
Yeah, like the throw on the bed. Like yesterday, I was doing the throw on the bed game.
Oh yeah, they
like a
love that.
stack of pillows. You throw the boys as high as you want to, and they absolutely love it. Even like Caleb did at like 6 months. Like that was one of his favorite things to do. Is just to tumble, like roll, and you'd push them and hold them upside down or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They just love it. Like they can't get enough of it. Like they're little stuntsmen.
Yeah. Ben is for sure. My goodness, that kid jumps around on the hard tile floors like nothing.
Yeah, Ben's like he loves falling. We went to they had an open house at their karate thing, and they were just like deliberately falling over and over and over and over again.
He's starting to like the sensation of being spun around in circles now too.
Yeah, I always loved that because it was like flying a jet. Like I always wanted to fly a jet.
Yeah.
Or be like a bird.
Right.
To feel the G's and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So Grand Facade, I got it tied up in GPS. Any final words?
Peace.
Shepherd.
Love thy God with all your heart. There you go.
Hallelujah. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth. That's all for today. Thanks for listening. Ben Zoetemeyer, Judson Witham, Bob Tuskin, Les Dorrington, Randy Russell, Rockford Lindgren. Thanks, guys. Have a blessed day. Adios.